that you know how bubble sort works, I'm going to show you that it actually does work and put it into action. And then I'm going to show you a way to make sorting even faster. So for this, we're going to need actually two different libraries. So we're going to import random. We're going to import something from random. So we're going to say import random. And we're going to import time, which is another library that we've never used before. First thing I want to do is I want to build an unsorted list. So I'm going to create a list called unsorted, and right now it'll be empty. And I'm going to use a variable called I. So I equals 0 just to get us started. And I'm going to put a comment here. Build an unsorted list of 500 items. All right, so while I is less than 500, what I'm going to say is random number, or I'll just call it number. Number equals random.randint 0 to 10,000. So I'm creating a random number between 0 and 10,000, and then I'm going to append it to my list. So unsorted.append number, and then I'm going to increase I by 1. All right, and that should build an unsorted list of 500 items. And now I'm going to go ahead and print unsorted just to see if it worked. So this should build a list of 500 items, and there are my 500 items completely unsorted. Now printing a whole list of 500 things is obviously a lot of screening here, so I'm going to do something a little bit smarter than that, which is I'll just print the first 20 items. Print first 20 items of unsorted list. So I equals 0 again. And while I is less than 20, print unsorted I, and then I equals I plus 1. So this will print the first 20 items. So print unsorted list, first 20. And here we go. Let's see if this works. Print, oh, it needs to be end in quotes, of course. So try that again. All right, so there's my unsorted list, the first 20 items. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get bubble sort and put that in here as a function. So I'm going to put some space up here, and I'm going to define something called bubble sort. Now rather than, bubble sort is such a common tool and is so easily available that I can just do a Google search for a program for bubble sort. So I'm going to say bubble sort program, Python program for bubble sort. Let's see what I find. Here it is. And here's a function. I'm going to grab this function or copy it all. So I copied this whole thing. And then we'll talk about what it does. So now I'm going to take this function that I just copied, and I'm going to go back to my program, and I'm just going to paste it in. So it defines a function called bubble sort. I don't like how they name it, by the way. I don't like this little b, big S. I prefer naming things like this, bubble sort. And it takes an array. An array is another word for list. I'm going to change it to list because I like to think like that. First thing it does is it creates a variable called n, and it sets it to the length of the list. Then there's a comment here. First off, there are 2 indents, so I really only need 1, so I'm going to dedent that. I'm going to dedent that, dedent that. So now it says, for I in range of n. What this does is it says, please count from 0 to the value n, and go through every single time. And then it says, another for j, another in range 0, going from 0 to n minus I minus 1. So what this does is it does exactly, it's kind of complicated, but it does what we saw in that little video with the cups. It goes through the range again and again and again. And then if the list item j is greater than list item j plus 1, they need to be swapped. And this is how the swap occurs. You can actually do this with items. It's basically saying take item 1 and item 2 and rearrange them like that. Okay? Except it doesn't know what R is because I've changed it to list. 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 Now the last thing it needs to do, so it goes through this whole rigmarole, and then it needs to return the value. So it needs to actually send back the sorted list. So I need to go back over to here, this level, same as the first level, and then return the list. So it returns the sorted list because it's all been sorted now. So now let's see if it works. That's my function, which is called bubble sort. So I've got a unsorted, and I print the first unsorted. Now I say print, I will now sort the list. And unsorted equals bubble sort unsorted. So this will go through and sort the list using this tool bubble sort. And then I will do this again, which is print the first 20 items. And print first 20 items of sorted list. So, actually I'm going to create a new variable called sorted. So, let's see. Unsorted equals this, and sorted equals that, the empty list. So I'm going to say sorted equals bubble sort unsorted, and my sorted list, print sorted list first 20, and print sorted I. All right, let's see if this works. So we have a list of 500 items. It's going to print the first 20 items, and then it's going to sort them. I will now sort the list, sorted list, and there it is, sorted. Just going to add a space here. And try it again. Okay, there's my unsorted list. I will now sort the list, sorted list, first 20. So you can see that bubble sort actually works. And this tool here is really useful. So what I'm going to do is we'll do something with time later. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this whole thing, control copy, and I'm going to go back to my classroom tool. Do you remember the tool that we had where you could add names to the classroom? Check this out. I'm going to, I'll save this as bubble sort tester, save, and now I'm going to go to my trinkets, and here's my class list program. And what I want to do, what I want to add, is I want to sort my class list. So every time I get past item 4, I want to resort the list. So I'm going to say, well, first I need to put bubble sort in. So let's get my bubble sort in here, my function. So that's the same function I just had a second ago. All right, and I'm going to take my class list, and I'm going to say class list equals bubble sort class list. So let's see what happens. Every time it's going to do that. And let's go ahead and run the program, see if it works. All right, so I'm going to add a student. First student I'm going to add is Reed. Okay. And I'm going to add another student named Snowy. And I'm going to add another student named Alfie. Okay. And now I'm going to print all the students, and they should be in alphabetical order. Let's find out. Alfie, Reed, Snowy. See? What I'm doing is I'm sorting my list each time with just this one line here. It resorts it so that if I do have students, I can resort them each time, and my list is always going to be in alphabetical order. So bubble sort can be used for lots of things. It can be used, as I said, for using pictures and stuff, sending them across the internet, although that would be a bad use of bubble sort because it's too much data. But this class list only has 3 items. I mean, if you're bubble sorting something that's under 100 items, it's going to be really fast. So that's fast enough, and using bubble sort here allows us to increase the efficiency of, or improve our class list program, because now the class is sorted every time, which is really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I now have a better class list program.